In our next tutorial, we will show you how to edit the front page of your website. Upon logging in and being greeted with your dashboard, we will use our mouse cursor to visit the front of the website. Once the page is loaded, we will simply at the top of the page right-click on Edit with Elementor and we'll open this in a new tab. For the time being, I will move this tab to the right and we will have our new tab, which is the backend, located on the left. Next, we will use our mouse cursor to navigate around the site. As you can see, while we move our mouse cursor around, certain sections will be highlighted with borders, either blue or dotted borders. We will start at the top of the page and we will edit the section, which can be seen and is highlighted with a blue line. By selecting the Edit button, the window will appear on the left. Here we can change the layout settings. We can stretch the section, change the content width from boxed to full width. We can change the width of the boxed. We can change the column gap, which is not needed as there is only one column. We can change the height, which is set to default, the vertical alignment, and so forth. The parallax and particle section are all add-ons, and you do not need to worry about this. In the structure, you can see we have it currently set at 100%. Next, in the style section, we will come to our background. Here we can choose the color of our background as well as an image. We can choose to change the image by selecting it and choosing a new image for our media library. I will close this and we will move on. We can change the positioning of the image, the attachment, the repeat options, and the size of the image, as well as add scrolling and mouse effects. Moving on, we can add a background overlay to the image. By selecting Classic, we can choose the color we wish to add, and we can change the strength of the transparency. I will set that back to default, and we will continue. Next, we have the option to add a border to the section. We will do this by selecting our type, inserting our width, and choosing our border color. Next, we will disable this, and as you can see, we have the same options for the whole group. Moving on, you can see we have our shape divider. Here we can add a shape divider to the top or the bottom of the section. We will simply choose our divider, choose our color, and we can change the width and height. Setting that back to default, the same can be set for the bottom. Moving on to the advanced section, we have come to our margin and our padding. Again, the margin is everything that is outside of the section, and the padding will be everything that's inside of the section to the content. As you can see, we currently have a top and bottom padding of 150. If I was to remove the top padding, you can see that the spacing has been removed. If I was to set the top padding to 300, you can see that the top spacing is double that of the bottom spacing. I will set that back to 150, and we will continue. In our motion effects, we can choose scrolling effects, as well as add an entrance animation to this entire section. Our responsiveness is where we can hide certain sections, but is not required. Our attributes and custom CSS is for more in-depth development and is not required. Now that we have covered the section, we will move on to a column. Again, using our mouse cursor, we will navigate the website until we come across a section titled Column. By selecting the Edit button, the window on the left will appear. Again, we have our layout settings. We have our styling settings, which please note that this only applies to this column. For example, if I was to add an image to this column, as you can see, the image only appears within the column that we have selected. We can also add a background overlay, a border, and so forth. Again, in the Advanced tab, we have our margin and our padding. As you can see, we have got a little bit of padding set around this column to make it fit nicely. Next, we will move on to the motion effects, which is again our scrolling effects, mouse effects, and entrance animation. As you can see, since we are working with a column, the entrance animation only applies to this column. Again, our responsiveness, attributes, and custom CSS will not need you to fiddle there, as that is for more in-depth development. Now that we have covered the column, we will move on to an actual widget. Again, we will use our mouse cursor to find a widget, in this case a heading. We will select the edit, and on the left hand side we will see the window appear. Here we can change the text in the widget, which is reflected real time. We can also add a link and change the sizing of this heading. In the styling section, we can change the text color, the typography, which includes the font, sizing, the weight, as well as transforming, adding style and decorations to the text, and we can even add text shadow. Again, in the advanced section, we have our margin and padding, which is set to default 0. Again, all these other sections is for more in-depth development, and you will not require this. So that is how you would edit the front page. It is the same as any other page. We will just use our mouse cursor to navigate to the section we are wishing to edit, and we will select Edit. That is how you would edit the front page of your website.